I'm Whitewater Lake. I've been alive for at least 10,000 years, ever since a massive glacier melted and left me behind. Since then, water has come from Turtle Mountain. I'd be nothing without that mountain, literally. My water levels go up and down, depending on how much rain and snow falls on its northern slopes. Whatever the soil can't absorb finds its way here, to me. For centuries, or more likely millennia, when I grew full, I'd spill into the Souris River. But things have changed with the mountain, and for me as well. About 150 years ago, people began affecting how the mountain's water flows, and over time, that has brought many changes, making my life, well, let's say, complicated. Pretty impressive, eh? Some folks say I'm the most important body of water in southwest Manitoba. On an average year, I'm about 13 kilometers long, east to west, and 7 kilometers wide north to south, and I can grow to be twice that big. But I've also gone completely dry, a few times. Usually, I'm only about a meter deep. In summer, the sun and winds evaporate much of my water to create rainfall further east. Because I'm so shallow, lots of locals call me the marsh. And I'm okay with that. Birds love marshes. I attract all kinds of birds, and of course people, some with guns and some with binoculars and cameras. In this film, the people who live by and use this lake will help me tell my story. Starting with Tom Moran. Tom worked with me for many years as a conservation officer. He's currently standing on a constructed dike, a dike that was designed to hold back water for waterfowl in case of dry years. Unfortunately, high water combined with crazy winds destroyed most of that dike.
I think that, we've got some water management issues here over the years with high water and low water. The high water levels have been impacting some adjacent landowners and whatnot, although it's changing some of those flooded areas are interesting spots for wildlife as well. We've seen some birds show up here that don't traditionally here. On the staging waterfowl front, we've got snow geese, we've got Canada geese, there's white front geese, just about, all of the ducks and waterfowl that migrate will stop here. A variety of shorebirds, black-crowned night herons, bitterns, sandpipers, yellowlegs. There's even historically been some piping plover on the north shores of the lake, which is a listed species. So a variety of shorebirds and waterfowl. But this area historically it's been important since settlement in terms of hunting and trapping. And hunting was pretty important here and still is. So we're on the south side of Whitewater Lake, closer to Deloraine, and the birds have, it's 6:30 or so here in the evening, so the birds have been out feeding, and you'll see a fair bit of bird activity in the air. So they'll find a field that they like, and they'll get in there to feed, and then those birds will draw other birds. So it's kind of it builds on itself, and that might be a harvested field that has started to green up again from some volunteer growth, or it might be a pea field that's not harvested. It just kind of depends on the site. Those are snow geese, snows and blues, and the blue is a color phase of the snow goose. But this lake's going to persist. It's going to be here, and it's going to support the wildlife that it has for hundreds of years or thousands of years, and that's not going to change. It's going to look different from time to time, but it's going to be here. And we just have to be careful in how we manage our watershed, I think, and that's what affects the lake and the people around it. And it's not about just what's here, it's about kind of the holistic look at the region and the area.
Tom suggests there's a problem with how the watershed is being managed. What's a watershed, you ask? It's all the land that slopes toward me, the land that gives me water. In more recent years, that incoming water has flooded farmland, but not everyone agrees on how the watershed should be managed. I've seen a lot of interesting people. Back in the early 1880s, settlers started moving here from eastern Canada. Some thought they could do as they wanted with me. Mr. B.B. Johnson, for example, thought he could make a quick buck selling town lots on my shore. Lots that existed only on paper. He called the fictional town Moberly.
Will we try and go up on top of this hill here?
Local public historians, Jan McClelland, Bob Caldwell, and Ken Story, are on the search for the town site Johnson was trying to sell.
Moberly was proposed in about 1882 and advertised as a lake resort. Advertised as a paddle wheeler, railway coming by, a big wharf, beautiful town layout with 1,000 lots and an esplanade going down the lake. But as we know here in our area, it's Whitewater is a very low lake, and some call it a big slough, but it's not a resort area, and it wasn't then and isn't now. Because of the advertising and the layout of the town looked very impressive, and the pictures looked very impressive, or the drawings, I should say, people bought it. Then when they found out there was nothing here at all, there was no paddle wheeler, there was no railroad built. The railroad wouldn't come through here for 4 more years and missed the spot of Moberly. And they demanded their money back. And as said, by the look of the layout, it looked terrific. It looked like it was well planned and ready to go.
It was the most elaborate layout for a town plan. And it wasn't the only one, but it was the most elaborate that I've seen.
Yeah.
One of the times I went dry, in 1913, people decided I had disappeared forever. They hatched a plan to sell my dry bottom to farmers in neat little squares for $25 an acre. That didn't last long. A few wet years later, I was full again, full to overflowing. Long before the Easterners came, Indigenous people called this area home. Dakota, Nakota, and Métis communities gathered, hunted, trapped, and lived here. Brad Bird and his Métis forebears spent, and still spend, time with me in the mountain through all seasons.
So you can see 3 muskrat houses on this big slough. These are prime houses. This is a prime slough because of its depth. There's a good 6, maybe 8 feet of water here, and the muskrats need that to survive. Just big enough for the trap. Trapping is very important to the Métis people. Myself, I've got some Cree blood in me, and it comes natural. I wanted to trap even though I grew up in Toronto. My father was an Air Force pilot. Trapping is a very traditional activity among the Métis people. It's how they fed themselves. As I say, these muskrats are excellent eating. Beavers are also something I've trapped a lot of, and they're excellent eating. So you got to eat, and wild game is the preferred meat of Métis people and Native people generally. The trap will sit near the holes in the house, in the ice. The muskrats create 2 or 3 holes that they can get down into the water through, and they bring feed up to feed on. So I'll put this near a feed pile, and Mr. Muskrat will walk into it. And when that happens, this is the muskrat. He doesn't feel much, I don't think. It's a pretty quick kill. I'm 6th generation bird here, My great-great-grandfather came over in 1788 at the age of 15 to work for the Hudson's Bay Company. And he married Cree women in turn, had a lot of children, and I'm descended from them. And of course they trapped. I've been trapping this country for 200 years, traveling through this country past Whitewater Lake, because there was a main trail between Turtle Mountain and Whitewater Lake, a buffalo trail, there was a Métis trail, a native trail, there's a trail to the Mandan people right through this mountain. Right now, we are about a quarter of a mile just south of Whitewater Lake. And of course, we're north of Turtle Mountain. This used to be a rich grazing area for the bison. They loved the grasses here, they loved the location for various reasons. The grasses were highly nutritious, and the bison by the thousands would settle in here and graze east and west of us as we stand. The Métis people from Red River found this a favored hunting area, of course, since the bison enjoyed it so much. And they would run the animals here with their horses and take a load of bison meat back and turn it into pemmican and sell it in the fur trade, eat it through the winter. That's what they lived on. Meat was the mainstay of the diet of those people. Today, the geese and the ducks need the lake just as much as the bison did in years gone by. It's a staging area for the geese and the ducks as they're heading south. They feed on this lake. They build up their energy to enable them to do the hundreds of miles of flight that they need to do as they head south to the warmer areas. You take away this lake, you take away that staging area, you take away that feed, you're hurting those birds. You're hurting the ducks, you're hurting the geese. I kind of hope that the lake stays where it is. It's been there for hundreds of years, thousands of years, if truth be known. Maybe it should stay there a little longer. That's my feeling about it.
There are now beef and grain farmers all around me. I like to think they enjoy me, or at least respect me.
Oh, good, coffee. You have some pictures.
Well, I was going through some albums and I found some old farming pictures here. I thought you might like to see them.
I would.
Sisters Ethel Romelaire and Donna Wilson grew up on a farm on my south shore and have fond memories of their lives there.
But I believe you have that one, do you not?
Yes, I have the original of that in a frame.
But that's great because it's got the entire farmyard there.
Yes, that isn't there now.
No.
To farm beside the lake was idyllic. It was absolutely wonderful. Being that close to something that was a natural phenomena in nature was wonderful.
Back in the day.
Grandpa
Yeah.
and the team, Mag and Mary.
Yes, and that's down on the lake
Yes.
there. But I also have pictures of how the lake has changed.
Oh, okay. Show me. I haven't been down there.
You haven't been down. Well, I'll have to show you. There's the bank and the water starting to come, like starting to rise.
Yeah,
correct?
so this bank would be about, what, 10 feet high here?
Yes, yeah, because there's the fence and then the field is behind there.
And then it just
It's gone from actually an agricultural source of feed to just water. Everything we knew in our life growing up there is gone. And you see there's the field and then there's the bank, like
Yeah.
Dad's field, and there's the bank.
And where the water is here, this is where we're doing the raking.
Yes, yes.
And what we hayed
yes,
was
yes.
down there.
Yes, yes. There's been talk of a control drain on it to control the level of water, but
Well, you're not going to please everybody at any time. People on the north side or the people on the west end. But if you start to mess with the natural state of that lake, you're going to ruin it. We're not affected the way other people are affected that have had their farmland flooded.
No, that's
So
true.
we could, we can say that. If it was lapping at the door, perhaps we would feel a little differently. But just leave it the way it is.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
My high water levels cause problems for sure, not only for those who farm along my shoreline, but also for local municipal governments. 2 municipalities have proposed, because my original outlets to the river have been lost, that any time my water rises more than 1,634 feet above sea level, my water should be actively drained towards the Souris River. If their plan were agreed to and proven to be feasible, farmers would get their farmland back, and municipalities could again get taxes from that land. The 2 natural outlets for high water, Medora Creek to the west and Elgin Creek to the northeast, are now silted up. To make matters worse, Turtle Mountain is not absorbing water like it used to, and so a lot of farmland around my edge is flooding when we have heavy rains and snowfall.
This will show the history of the lake and the levels in different years. So this is what we wanted to accomplish as 2 municipalities, to lower it and control it. So what we have found over the last 20 years, there's more and more drainage from that escarpment coming down, and coming down faster. Now, Pimlico Valley Watershed District and the Souris River Water District build retention ponds, which slows it down, but there's not enough of them. We just can't afford to build enough of them. The planning would be to set up a control system when the lake got too high, to let it go out easy down the creek, Medora Creek, or we were also thinking going north on Road 122, 2 pumping stations that would lower it, and in that way we had room for a rain event.
Here's a farming family who've lost land to flooding. They believe that in order to fix me, the mountain also needs to be adjusted. You see, the mountain, my watershed you'll recall, used to hold on to a lot more moisture. But with timber and brush clearing, tillage and soil compaction, roads and ditches, and increased drainage off of fields, the water runs down to me much faster and stronger than it used to. The soil of Turtle Mountain doesn't have enough opportunity to absorb moisture into its underground aquifer.
I cannot remember my dad coming out here and hunting geese. He loved to hunt geese. And he used to plan what we called the 36 acres so that he could get the feed for the cattle. But the main purpose was so that he'd get a good hunt in at the end of the fall.
When the water was high, this, as you can tell from the cattails, this was all gone. So the water's actually receded quite a ways from what it was during the high water mark. When we started grazing here first because the rest was in cultivation. We had to get it sewn back down to permanent cover. So we started here with a small herd of cattle first. And at that time, this quarter section was surveyed and we had the full quarter. And at that time, we were cutting hay at the far corner where the water is now. And we did that for a number of years. And since 2010, the water started to rise fairly significantly. And we weren't that alarmed when it came on to the northwest corner. That's closest to the lake. And we know we're within the flood zone of the lake. We know that. But the water didn't stop there. It just kept coming and coming. And up to that point in time, we had access to 155 acres. And by the time the lake hit its full potential, we went from 155 acres down to 30.
And the habitat we lost as cattle farmers But when you see the nature around us, that was all gone. So although people take a beating, so does the animals and the species that count on this land as well.
Yeah, we had clover that was 6 feet high in here. Oof. Just watch you get wet feet. So this has been out of production for 14 years. This actually represented our best land in terms of production, biomass. If the watershed continues to get worse, if that should happen, then the symptoms here will get worse. So no, I don't know of any
Answer.
Yeah, there's no answer for this. There's no mathematical or mechanical answer for this situation. This is nature at its best.
Nature at its best? It would be great if people would ask, what do the mountain and I need? Yes, the mountain and I work together in a beautiful way. We're a unique micro-watershed, worthy of admiration. But are we at our best? That's a decision my people will have to make. In the meantime, Turtle Mountain and I remain friends eternal.